Hi everybody. I decided today to do a quick flip through of the Northern Animal Tarot. This is one of my favorite decks. I love it so much that I actually have two copies of it. So I'm going to show you the copy that I have not used. I purchased this, I can't remember, it was a few months ago. It was a Kickstarter deck. Again, I did not participate in the Kickstarter, but I bought it directly off her website, and I will link it in the description box. The reason I ended up buying two was because I loved it so much that I wanted a backup, and it was, she had put on her website, and she still has them available, some imperfect copies that come without all the bonus extras. So I think there's one you get without the tuck box, but it comes with the bag, this little bag, for $41. And then another option, it comes with the tuck box and everything, but it's $58. So I ended up ordering the cheapest version just so that I'd have an extra copy. And it said it was imperfect and that the edges were cut a little oddly, but mine is totally perfect. So I have two perfect copies of the deck, and it also came with everything the first one did. It came with the tuck box and the bag. So anyway, here is the Northern Animal Tarot. It comes in this bag with two little art cards that are copies of some of the extra cards you get in the deck, which we'll look at in a minute. So it's got this beautiful tuck box. It came with this sticker that sealed it, but I peeled it off carefully and just stuck it on the back. So this is a Canadian deck, which I live in Ontario, so I was very drawn to the idea of having a deck that was made in Canada. I can't remember if it's produced in Saskatchewan or if it's produced in Alberta, but it's from the prairies anyway, or out towards the Rockies, somewhere in the middle of Canada. Maybe there is a slight imperfection. You can see there's like a little ding on the corner. Maybe you can see it of this card. But otherwise, I honestly haven't noticed anything. All right, so here's the deck. It comes with this card on the very top. Time to Adventure with Northern Animal Tarot. And this is, it just has like a little like insert guide. It's not very thick, obviously. It's very small, but it's cute. It's nice paper. The other thing I love about this deck is that it was printed locally. So it is on the most unusual cardstock. I've never felt cardstock like this. And all the reviews I saw online mention this. And some are quite disappointed in the cardstock, but I actually love it. It's a linen finish. It is very thin. That's true. It is very thin. As you can see, it bends, but it's held up really well. And I've shuffled this thing a lot and used it a lot. So it has cards with some spreads. And then it has a few like oracle cards. There's a seed. The seasons, there's spring. That is spring in Canada. Still snowy. Summer, fall, winter. And then we've got some moon phases. And then a Sasquatch and a tree, and like a goblin guy, a ghost, and a star. So those are the extra cards. And here is, okay, that's just the card that came on the very top. So let's have a quick flip through the deck. So that's about how thick the deck is. I've got my Rider-Waite, or Smith-Waite Centennial here, so we can compare the card size. It's taller and wider than the Centennial. These are the backs. They aren't fully reversible, but they're beautiful. So it's a RWS clone, but fully anthropomorphized. And I just adore the artwork. It takes me back to my childhood, like storybooks and things. And of course, all the animals are sort of not necessarily local, but they're familiar to me. So this deck comes with, I forgot to mention, 2 different versions of the Hierophant. So you can pick which one you want to keep in the deck. So this one is more traditional RWS. And then this one has a more like pagan, nature-based sort of feel to it. So that's a nice bonus. The Lovers. After I've flipped through the cards on this deck, I will show you my other copy, the one that I've actually used. Hopefully the light is okay in here today. It's cloudy and sunny, intermittently. The Tower. I love this star. And the Sun has got to be one of my favorite Sun cards ever. You know, replace the naked baby with that little creature. I think it's a skunk. It is adorable. And Judgment. Love. So yeah, this deck it's obviously more, it's an indie deck. It's more expensive than even a typical indie deck, but I think that is because it was printed locally on, I'm trying to think of the name of the type of paper. It's archival paper, but I mean, it's not plain paper. It's got a lamination to it. Maybe you can see if I turn it a little bit, and you can see the linen texture, hopefully. And the deck I've used, it has broken in. It is not as shiny. Like, I think some of the lamination has worn off a little bit. I feel bad for this 8 of Wands. He's really getting caught up in the action there. Out of all of my decks, I think this is definitely in my top 5. I use it a ton. It's a nice gentle deck too, you know, if you're having a rough day. It's kind of like what people on YouTube sometimes call hug decks. It just, it'll tell you what you need to hear, but in a nice way, if that makes any sense. In a gentle way. Traditional style 3 of Swords. Obviously, they're all quite traditional, but There's something about the clouds in this I just love. And then you see over here, there's like the sun burst coming through at the corner. Adore this, adore the colors of the sunrise. It just has such a special vibe to it. And I was quite worried about the cardstock when I first ordered it, but like I said, it's unlike anything I have ever had before. It's not cheap. It's thin, but it is not cheap, if that makes sense. Like, it does not feel like paper. I love the way, going back, the Knight of Swords is a blue jay, whereas all the other birds in the swords are crows or ravens. But the Knight of Swords is a blue jay because they do like to start fights. I've witnessed it myself in my backyard. They've even tried to start fights with my cats. Yeah, we got the sun coming out now, so I hope it's not messing up the lighting too much. The 10, the Knight. Oh, I got them mixed up. The Page, the Knight, the Queen of Pentacles, and the King of Pentacles. So there is the deck. I am going to show you the version that I have used a ton. It's right here. I edged it in with blue Tombow. Well, there's some dog hair on it, of course. A dark grayish blue Tombow, and I have shuffled this thing for hours and hours and hours. So much so that some of the edging is actually worn off. Here, like, you can even see the difference. These are the Oracle extras up here. You can see the difference probably of these versus these, of where I've shuffled. So the card stock, or the cards themselves, are in great shape. There's no damage at all to the corner or to the edges of the cards, despite tons and tons and tons of shuffling. The only thing, and this is 100% my fault, because I edged it in Tombow and shuffled it a ton, I think some of the ink has sort of smudged onto the cards in spots. And here I screwed up when I was edging and got a little bit on, tried to wipe it off, and ended up taking off some of the paper. So that wasn't good. So I don't know how it would take other types of ink, but for Tombow, I would not edge it with a Tombow. It's like a watercolor ink, just because of how, here, let's compare the Ace of Swords or the Ace of Wands with the wands from the unused deck. And you'll probably be able to see how the ink has smudged a little bit onto the used copy. Okay, so here is the unused Ace of Wands. And here's the one that I edged. You can just see it kind of looks dirty, you know, like the linen texture has picked up some ink. It might just be dirt too from my hands, but I think some of it is ink because you can see along the edge. So if I could go back, I wouldn't edge it. That's for sure. Anyway, now I've mixed up both decks, but this is what the edge looks like if you don't edge it, and this is how it looks if you do. So I've totally mixed up my edged and non-edged decks. And I am just going to give them a quick shuffle. So you see how they shuffle? They shuffle beautifully. Unlike anything I have. They just, I could shuffle these babies for hours. They have such an interesting sound. I don't know if it's possible to be addicted to shuffling decks. I don't like to throw that word around. I don't know if it's possible to use shuffling decks to soothe anxiety, but I definitely think I tend to do that. You can shuffle overhand too if the deck's too small for your, or too big for your hands, because it is quite long. And we'll give it a riffle shuffle. Riffles beautifully because it's so flexible. Like, whoops, look at that. That's not a very good example. This table's really high up compared to what I'm used to shuffling on, so yeah, that's not good. Anyway, so that is the Northern Animal Tarot, and like I said, it is one of my all-time faves. I absolutely love it. And I know she still has copies available. I don't know if she's planning to ever do another print run. So check it out if you are drawn to this deck, because it is something really, really special.